Absolutely. When we have so many resources like at our fingertips, I think yeah, yeah. Which leads me to the gardening part, the gardening aspect, right?
Yes.
That's a route that a lot of people have turned to, where in a way they've kind of started taking their control back through doing things for themselves that we relied on, grocery stores and everything like that for. So tell us about your journey. Like, how did you actually wind up getting into gardening? Was it this full picture before, or did it start off smaller than that?
So, I got started in gardening last year, and like most people, I was shopping at grocery stores, regular grocery stores, and I started to realize that the food doesn't taste like how food should taste. Like, I never in my life bit into like a bland tomato until like after COVID. I'm like, how does a tomato not have flavor? Like, where did the flavor go? And so as I started to dig and do more research, I realized, because of the labor shortages and things, that a lot of the fruit has to get picked early, and it's ripening with ethylene gas, and then it's put onto our shelves. So um just that whole process, I'm like, huh. So the tomato is $2 and it tastes like nothing.
Mhm.
Like, that was not adding up to me. And
Yeah.
over time, I'm like, I can't keep coming to the store and buying this bad produce. I would have, green peppers that were molded as I cut into them. And I'm like, dude, this pepper was like $1.50. And you have to keep taking it back to the store and you keep complaining and nothing is being done.
Right.
And I just realized, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to do this. And I started growing my own food. Like most people, I didn't know where our food came from, because it was never something that like came across my mind. Like, yeah, I know there are farmers, but the pandemic taught me how essential those farmers are. They feed our entire country. So, yeah, just after the pandemic and realizing, our food, it has little to no nutritional value because it is picked early. It led me down this rabbit hole, and I'm like, huh, maybe children don't like fruits and vegetables because it's bland. It tastes like nothing, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, just after doing so much research, things just started adding up. You go to the doctor for your annual physical and they're like, oh, eat your fruits and vegetables. Well, our fruits and vegetables have no nutritional value in them. And I'm still starving after I ate, you know, this salad. Vegetables are supposed to fill you up. Why am I still hungry after this? And yeah, it just sparked from there. And I planted out my first garden. I started with two raised beds and got some transplants from the store and been obsessed ever since.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Was it expensive to start? I'm sure people would be interested, like if they're curious. Like, is
I'll
it
be honest with you. Gardening is expensive if you want it to be expensive. Okay.
okay.
It's how you want it. If you want the aesthetically pleasing Pinterest garden, yeah, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. But I can tell you right now, I've tasted really good tomatoes that was just grown in straight native soil. So sometimes, gardening can be extremely affordable.
Mhm.
Sometimes the city, especially here in St. Louis, if you live in St. Louis City, you can get free compost and dirt. Um, then you can grow inside of like grow bags if you live in an apartment. You don't even need access to soil. You can also rent a garden plot for like $25 a month and grow whatever you want in that plot. Um, so when it comes to gardening and it being expensive, it's literally, what you make it. Yeah. And seeds, you can get free seeds too. So
Really?
yeah, the libraries, some of the libraries, I'm working with the county libraries to see if we can get a seed library started at some of the locations. But if you go to some local libraries, they have free seeds. It's called a seed bank.
Huh. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I did not.
Yeah, and yep. And even, like, on TikTok, like, I've participated in several seed exchanges. Those are free, you just pay for postage. If you really need seeds, there's a website called, I think, freeheirloomseeds.com or freeseeds.com. You can get free seeds there as well.
Huh. So the resources are there. It's just a matter of finding them.
Yeah. It's a matter of literally just putting it out there.
That's really good to know. That's interesting. That's stuff that I actually never knew before. So I'm being educated at the same time. That's funny. And then when you think about it too, because I never really put two and two together. I remember as a child, we never went to daycare. My brother and I, we never went to
Uh-huh.
daycare. Everybody just went to grandma's house. That's the kind of, you
Mhm.
know, like that was like the childhood that we had where all the cousins and stuff in the summertime were over at grandma's house.
Yeah.
And she would put us to work, right? And
Mhm.
my grandma lived in the hood now. She just had this like little plot of just dirt
Mhm.
like the size of my desk. And you know what I'm saying? She was making all kinds of stuff. She was growing tomatoes, bell peppers, like she would grow greens and stuff like that. And it's just like I never thought about it before and it wasn't difficult. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't a bunch of fancy tools or anything like that. She had us with like the hand hedge trimmers, you know, we had a
Mhm.
whole and that was about it. Like, you know, she was growing food. So I guess when you think about it, it's just like it doesn't have to be hard. You can do it with what you have. Um, it's just a matter of doing it and sticking to
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and on TikTok, if you, ever follow the hashtag Unity Garden, and the Unity Garden community, there are so many different gardeners. We have people gardening in apartments, grow bags, grow tents in their basement. People with no land, little land, garden plots. Like you can garden for the low and virtually free. You just have to want to do it and take that control.
nice. That's awesome. So what kind of food do you grow? Or what kind of well, I should is it just food or more than food?
Oh man, I grow mostly edibles and I am growing some medicinals. I grow medicinal wise, I am growing mullein. Mullein is an excellent herb for the respiratory system. And after I was diagnosed with COVID for the second time, that was the only herb that helped me feel better. Like it was amazing. And ever since then, I've been hooked. Like my house, I have to have mullein on hand. And I learned about it from TikTok and the Unity Garden community. There are gardeners on there whose, their thing is uh, medicinal herbs.
Yeah.
So when I found out about it, I went to the herb store and I got it. And when I got sick, hey, I felt better literally in a day just from taking it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to I keep hearing stories about like just the power of like herbs and eating the right things and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Now, granted, it's not the same, but it's kind of similar. I have another guest that comes on here often. His name is Dre, and he's
Mhm.
actually owner of a cannabis company. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, the reason that he actually got into it was because he had well, this isn't necessarily the reason, right? But before he was overweight, he had
Mhm.
diabetes and neuropathy, and he was taking the medicines and all of that kind of stuff, but he still wasn't feeling better.
Mhm.
So he changed his diet, you know, and well, he used cannabis. So he changed his
Mhm.
diet, used cannabis, and just was very conscious of the things that he was consuming. So a lot more fruits and vegetables and things like that, using a lot more herbs. So it wasn't just cannabis, it was stuff like you're talking about,
Mhm.
you know, elderberry and all of those kind of things that you hear people talk about. And he got rid of the neuropathy and the diabetes just through those
Wow.
natural methods.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and
amazing.
Yeah, right? It's incredible, and it's just like, I think sometimes we don't understand, or we take for granted the power that the food, or not the power, but the correlation between the foods that we eat,
Mhm.
the way that our body feels, and the way that our bodies react to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's almost taboo if we do take control of our own health.
Mhm.
You know, we are so accustomed to going to the doctor when we don't feel well just to get some pills that only suppress the symptoms. We never really get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is in our diet, the standard American diet. I mean, it's literally marked. It's nothing but chemicals. It's not even natural food at this point. Um, and just the way things are going. I talked about how food is being picked underripe. I'm sure you've seen studies and all of these new lab grown meats that are getting ready to roll out. And then we have, GMO foods. Those things are going to be the new norm. And I don't think it's natural to, consume something that has been altered or modified. Um, and it makes you think like, how would our bodies react to that? Are we going to get to a point to where we're not even consuming real food anymore? I mean, we're there, but is this going to be the new norm? Seedless fruit. And it makes you think about it like, man, where's this thing going? And do
Right.
we go forward, or do we go back to nature? Do we go back to being outside and taking those breaks, from being indoors and just going to sunbathe or anything like that? It really makes you think about it. Which way are you going? You know?
Exactly. And I think it's important to have conversations like these, because I think when you really start to think about it, right? Because if you're just going throughout the world, you're not thinking about this kind of thing, like you're not paying attention to that kind of stuff. Like you don't think about the fact that there's pesticides on your fruits and your vegetables. You know what I'm saying? You might just like take the sticker off, rinse it off in water, and you eat it.
Yeah.
You know, like we're not thinking about these types of things, and it's just like, where you think about the meats even before they were genetically modified. You know what I'm saying? They have hormones and
Yeah.
antibiotics and all of these other kind of things, and,
Yeah.
and we consume that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we consume that, and there we don't have that level of control of knowing what got put into your food, onto your food before you got it.
Exactly. Exactly. And even with all of those antibiotics and hormones that were injected into the animals, that cross over into us.
Mhm.
So, with that crossing over to us, does that make us less resistant to, viruses and diseases? Is
Right.
that the reason why we keep getting sick so easily? Is that the reason why our mental health is all over the place? Are we really bipolar, or are we needing nutrient dense food? Are we needing real food? Because your gut and your brain, that's all one thing. They all signal and communicate with each other. So it makes you think like, hey, if I keep eating, all of this bad and processed food that's not feeding me, it's not going to stimulate me either. So it's going to make me feel more depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a concept, right? Where
Mhm.
um I drank milk my whole life until I moved out on my own and I started drinking almond milk. And now my body is just like, no, we don't do that.
Right.
My body is like, no, we don't do that. And it makes you think, it's just like, well, if my body is saying no to this, if it was really good for me, then would it reject that?
Exactly. Exactly. It makes you think about it.